This is Dr. Chris's Radio of Horror program. If you're not catching this during this broadcast of this recorded interview, hopefully you're catching it up on the Radio of Horror YouTube channel in a week or two. At the time of this recording, they should have broadcast. The time that we're broadcasting this in July, these people put together an amazing group of talented voice actors, and other people from media for charity for something called Scripts Gone Wild, where they take a movie script and they do it over Zoom, and it's been very successful. It's been very funny to watch. And again, at the time that we're broadcasting this, they should be doing Spider-Man 2, so hopefully we're coinciding when that happens. On the show with us is the creator and producer of this, Billy Bruton. Thank you for coming on the show, Billy.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Glad to be here.
At the time that we're broadcasting, Spider-Man 2 will have been out, but the time we're recording this week on Friday, they actually just aired with a couple of former guests of the show, Felicia Rose and Tiffany Shepis, Demon Knight, which was in support of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, Demon Knight we've been doing a series of live reads through COVID. We normally do a live show here in Los Angeles that we do at El Cid on Sunset. Where it's the exact same format. We just do it live on stage. And but since we couldn't do that because of COVID, we decided to start doing a series of Zoom readings, which have gone really well. And Demon Knight, yeah, that was the last one we did. It was the first time Felissa had done one with us. Tiffany is a vet. She's done what she do. She did The Thing a month or so ago for Chattanooga Film Festival, and then she was also in a reading we did of Zombie Nightmare a couple years ago.
Zombie Nightmare I'm not too familiar with. Is that the MST3K movie with Adam West?
It is. It's a mildly obscure horror film from the 80s. My buddy Frank Dietz, who actually does a lot with us with Scripts Gone Wild, he hosts a lot of our reads as well. He's in that, and so that's how I first became aware of Zombie Nightmare, was just through him. And it's just it's a cheesy 80s zombie film with Adam West.
That is the one with that. Or is the other name of it I Was a Teenage Zombie?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if that's the other name of it or not, but I do know.
And it was like a voodoo. It was like a guy who's killed, and a voodoo thing brings back a zombie. And the kid who was killed by like Adam West when he was a kid or something. Adam West is involved in the plot line. I remember he was on Mystery Science Theater 2000 promoting it when it happened.
Yeah, it was definitely on MST3K, and it's got its own little rabid little cult following.
Yeah, it's a cult following, that's for sure. Definitely not as high power. I mean, you guys have done cult films, which is cool, because you guys did Empire Records, which I think is probably one of the top. I want to go now 20 because 10 is whatever. 20 cult films of all time, because it was a movie that was so like forgotten about, nobody watched in theaters, and then bam, hit secondary market like DVD and VHS, and everyone loves Empire Records. I don't know of anybody who's ever said Empire Records sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we try to do a good mix of stuff. I mean, the very first read we ever did back in 2017, we did Carl Reiner's Summer School, and
Summer School. Wow, that's a deep cut.
That's the very first one we ever did, and then we did Flash Gordon after that.
Okay, so you were saying, by the way, is this the brother of like Rob Reiner?
No, it's his father. Carl Reiner's his father.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he was a great comedy director back in the 70s and 80s. Did The Man with Two Brains and Summer School, and that was the very first one we ever did. We started out at the Chattanooga Film Festival, and then we also did Flash Gordon there the year after.
Oh!
And we've done. Yeah, we've done everything. We've done a lot of, we do a lot of horror, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Tremors, Poltergeist, Gremlins. But, we did Roadhouse with Joel McHale.
There's a few horror ones I need to catch up on, because I've only seen the Friday the 13th one and did I see I think I saw Poltergeist.
Well, the problem with some of these is we didn't even start recording these until we started doing mainly until we started doing the Zoom recordings.
Okay.
So whenever we did the live shows, we never really recorded them. The only exceptions are a couple that Frank hosted, which were Zombie Nightmare and Batman 66.
Oh boy.
And so we recorded those, but otherwise, like, all of our earliest stuff is not really available, unfortunately. But now that we started recording them, we're probably going to record everything just for posterity.
Did you not record it because of copyright problems?
Yeah, that was a lot of it was that, but then also with the live shows, we have issues sometimes with performers who are just not comfortable with being seen that drunk in a video context.
Oh, right. I was going to say, most of these performers have been on camera.
Yeah.
But no, I get that.
And we've had, and it just depends. Like most people don't have a problem with it, but occasionally some folks are concerned. I mean, it hasn't really been an issue with the Zoom recordings. That most folks seem to be pretty okay with that. But we know we just try to one of the big things we try to do is make sure we're respecting our performers, because a lot of people have issues being seen that way, and we want to kind of respect their wishes as much as we can, but also still have them and give them to audiences as much as we can.
Who's the biggest person you've had in a recording for one of these scripts? And also, are these the original copies of the scripts? Because I was trying to follow Demon Knight along, and I was just like, there seems like there's stuff left out, or there's stuff that there's added. And I swear I just rewatched this movie on Scream Factory's Blu-ray like 2 years ago, and I've seen it multiple times because God, this was the movie I went to the theaters and watched over and over again, because I went to a private school in Virginia that allowed anyone from the private school to see whatever movie they want regardless of the rating. Today I don't think even a private theater could get away with that, just because of reasons. But I saw Pulp Fiction, Showgirls, Demon Knight, not appropriate for 14-year-olds.
For sure.
Especially Showgirls.
We've read Showgirls. We did it at Fantastic Fest.
Man, you gotta do another reading of that.
Yeah, it's funny. I would say most of the time we try to find the version of the script that is close to the film but has enough deviations where it's more fun for the audience. Like with Gremlins, we did that original dark Gremlin script where you've got like dead kids in the diner, and it's like super dark. And so we do try to read variations of the scripts whenever we can. We don't like to go too crazy. We like there to be at least enough of what people remember. But sometimes, like a good example would be Demon Knight's a good example where a lot of the lines that people remember from that film are not in any of the scripts. They're just like, I don't know if they were ad-libbed on set or what, but they're just not really there. And then you've got some scripts like, we just did Mommy Dearest, which is almost, with the exception of like a couple added scenes at the beginning, is pretty much exactly what you see. So it just kind of depends on the film, really. I mean, we try to take as many liberties as we can. And as for I'm trying to think of who the biggest name we've had. It's probably Joel McHale, who did Roadhouse with us.
Roadhouse.
Yeah, it's probably Joel McHale. But, we've had, Jim O'Hara from Parks and Rec, Henry Zabrowski from Last Podcast, Tom Everett Scott, Perez Hilton, like all sorts of fun people.
Yeah, because I was waiting for the Demon Knight part where the guy goes, "Oh no, my nipples are on fire" or something. He's got the battery cables, and I'm like, "Wait, am I missing something? Where's that line?" And so I'm like, so if you do Friday the 13th, the remake, there's a great, there's always a movie that has a line that people are just like, "Oh, the hell with this script." And they're slapping their foreheads. I think it's the one where the two people are banging, and he says, "You have perfect nipple placement."
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun finding the right script too. That's a lot of the fun of it. I mean, a lot of these films you can find several versions of the script out there. Some of them you have to like really dig to find any copy of the script, and that's because that is a challenge sometimes. Like, we're only 2 weeks out from Spider-Man 2. We still don't have a copy of the Spider-Man 2 script yet. So
I was going to make a recommendation if you didn't have that script.
Okay, I'll take a recommendation.
Ted Newson, who is on a lot of Hammer and horror documentaries, and he was actually the producer of the 100 Years of Horror starring Christopher Lee. His script, and he pointed me right to where it was, and I read half of it, and I was like, "Oh, this is brilliant." And he goes, "This is the version we wrote before Cameron came along." And I was like, okay, so he has the unproduced canon script, which is available online, but like his version is a lot better than the version that Cameron rewrote that has been a little bit more people have read and gone, "Really? Spider-Man and Mary Jane on a web in the middle of the movie just start having sex? That would not work." His version of the script doesn't have that. And so if you can't find Spider-Man 2, you could do the unproduced canon Spider-Man.
We could. That might be another one to do for a later day, only because, people are so excited about having those guys read Spider-Man 2, which is actually really cool because we're taking, it's a lot of the voice actors from the Spider-Man video game.
Oh.
And so it's like Yuri Lowenthal and William Sawyers and Tara Platt and like all like the really big voice actors from Spider-Man video game are doing the read. And so, and even like Dan Slott, who writes Fantastic Four and Iron Man for Marvel right now, he's doing it. And a lot of really like major Spider-Man fans are doing that read, which is really exciting. So, worst case scenario, when we don't find a read, we just transcribe it. And sometimes that even turns out more fun. Like we transcribe the script from Congo, and that's one of our most fun reads. So
what part is Dan Slott going to be doing?
I'm not entirely sure which one yet. Well, basically what we do, the way we cast is we basically, for the most part, just get all of the actors we know we're going to use. And then we don't really cast until like the last minute. I don't like people to have too much familiarity or time with the script before we go, because that kind of adds to the kind of insanity of it. So we know like Yuri is going to be reading Peter Parker because that's who he read in the video game. We know that William Sawyers is going to read Doc Ock because that's who he read in the video game. But apart from like those 2 or 3 folks, everybody else we're just going to plug in at the last minute and see where they fit.
You're not going to get Alfred Molina? No, that's right. He wasn't the Doc Ock in the video game. I remember.
That's right. Yeah. William did the voice for the video game and is fantastic. Like, I mean, most everybody in Spider-Man 2 are voice actors. Primarily for video games.
And they definitely took inspiration for the video game from Spider-Man 2, the biggest part being Doc Ock being a mentor for Peter Parker. So that way, when he goes evil, which is like we all knew that was going to happen. No spoilers here, guys. Sorry, you don't know a 50-year-old character. They didn't take him in any new directions. He still went bad. Whereas like it's his wife who dies, and he's just like he goes nuts because the tentacles have split personality disorder. And then so this time around, it's like he's dying and he wants to do better for mankind, but Osborn just keeps taking everything away from him, and so he's just like, F it, I'm gonna go after Osborn, which is what he does in the game. And then of course it leads to one of the biggest, which I won't spoil, biggest like heartbreaks of the video game. So now, and of course, I'm with like a lot of people. Have you played the game? I'm assuming, right?
I actually haven't. Never played the game.
No. Okay, so they have a new version coming out for the PlayStation 5, which is basically a lot of people are happy, but a lot of people are like, "Are you kidding me with this? It's the same game, but with Miles skin," and you're like, what is that gonna be like when you have isn't Miles a non-playable character in this game who at the very end becomes the character we know him to be, sorta, but without a costume? And you're like, what? So I don't understand how that's gonna work. Is he gonna interact with himself, or you're gonna get to play as Miles Spider-Man, but it's not an added level, it's just the same game with Miles mode.
Yeah it's a thing. Like I've only recently, probably in the last couple years, gotten back into video games. And I took a long sabbatical.
Oh, you're better for it.
probably 20 years of not playing. But I will say what's been interesting is like our buddy Graham Skipper. He's the one who he's friends with Yuri and William. He's the one who kind of recommended that we do Spider-Man 2 with those guys. I had no idea. I mean, I should have known, but I just had no concept at how like ravenous the video game community was, particularly like the Spider-Man video game community, because the moment we announced we were doing this with like the voice actors, like folks went crazy. And it was like, I just didn't expect that. So it was a nice surprise. And as we've been adding more folks to it, and everybody we've got in it so far has some sort of Spider-Man connection, whether they, voiced the video game, whether they had some connection to the movie, we've tried to have they have some connection to it where we can make that happen. But I just wasn't expecting, that outpouring of excitement about having the video game characters read the script.
What's a film that you're not allowed to do, and who are some of your other co-conspirators on this project?
Yeah, there really isn't a script that we're not allowed to do.
We're
raising money
for
charity.
Or how about this question? A script that you feel like you can't do, like it's just like not gonna work, and even if you want to be like meta satirical about it, you're just feeling like we can't do this movie. So it's like Song of the South and the Halloween, the Star Wars Holiday Special. Just can't do it.
Yeah, I would say the one weirdly that I would say that I feel like we can't do is one that I love, which is Clue.
Oh, what?
Only because that script is so description heavy. I just don't think it would be a fun script to read, even though the movie is insanely fun and I love that movie. I think the script would be hard to pull off, and because we've thought about it before, but the more I looked at that script, it's just like it's almost like the impossible dream to some extent. I would really have to dive into it, completely transcribe it, and kind of rework it to make it work for a Scripts Gone Wild setting. Which doesn't mean I won't do that at some point. It's just been a little too lofty a goal for me to tackle thus far.
I thought you were going to say like London After Midnight or Phantom of the Opera.
Oh no, we would. I mean, we're about to do Bride of Frankenstein, which is going to be exciting.
But those are silent films. There's no dialogue.
Yeah. Bride of Frankenstein is one that Frank's doing that we're doing at the end of July, and that was going to be really, really cool. In terms of co-conspirators, I started this with my buddy Dave Lawson, who's a producer. He produces all of Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson's films, The Endless and Resolution and Synchronic, which is coming up. And they just did a Twilight Zone episode for Jordan Peele. And so he produces all their stuff. He's also produced other horror flicks like, Trash Fire and 68 Kill. But anywho, Dave and I kind of started this. I started at CFF with Dave, and then he usually is my co-host for 80% of the reads. He'll be my co-host, but sometimes he takes time off too because he's got a wife and is a busy producer. So so he's kind of my main co-conspirator. But like I said, Frank Dietz has come on board and hosts some shows occasionally and does a lot with us. Alexis Iacano, who is an actress and a voice actor, she's also kind of heavily involved with us and helps us do a lot of casting and really helps keep the chat functions going when we've got the live reads happening. And then Clay Keller from the Screen Drafts podcast guest host for us from time to time too. So that's kind of the core group of people who kind of make it happen.
What do you got coming up besides the obviously Spider-Man, and you mentioned the other? You just said it. What film did you just say at the end of July?
Well, let's see. Well, coming up, let's see. Right now, next we've got Fast and the Furious.
Oh, on the interesting.
Yeah, we're doing Dirty Dancing on the 8th.
Aww.
We've got Spider-Man 2 on the 15th, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 on the 22nd. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, Bride of Frankenstein.
Who do you have coming out for Nightmare 3?
Oh, we have Lisa Wilcox, who played Alice, in parts 4 and 5. She's coming back. She's done one with us before. We got Emma Kinney from Shameless and The Connors, Noah Segan, Joe Lynch, Graham Skipper, and we've got a couple of musical performances for that read as well, which are going to be a lot of fun. And then we're still casting too, so we've got some other folks too that are going to end up rounding it out as well. But we've done, we did Nightmare on Elm Street. That was one of the first reads that we did. And that was a lot of fun. We had Jim O'Hare, who plays Jerry on Parks and Rec, play Freddy Krueger, and that was a blast.
Oh.
And so yeah, we're Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. I'm a massive fan of those films, and so we'll eventually do all of those at some point.
How about television shows or TV movies?
Yeah, we actually just started doing. We literally just last week we started doing a TV sort of branch off of Scripts Gone Wild that Frank sort of organized. We did 2 episodes of the original Star Trek series.
Right. Okay, that's what I was saying, Star Trek.
And then we've got that coming up. We're going to do 2 episodes of the original Twilight Zone series in July. And we're going to start doing those once a month. And that's really, and those are really fun too. I'm going to, at some point, I'm going to do about 3 episodes of the Golden Girls, but that's probably going to be August or September. But yeah, that's just something that we've started, was the TV stuff. We had a lot of folks asking about it, and there was really no reason why we hadn't done it. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun doing the Star Trek scripts, and folks seemed to really like that too.
What about doing a complete Star Wars movie?
Star Wars is certainly on the horizon. We've kind of been deciding which one we want to tackle first.
I have a recommendation sitting right here in my hand right now.
Oh, do you? What is that
Yes,
recommendation?
because every one of the Star Wars movies, with the exception of Rogue One and Solo, and I'm not 100% positive if I just haven't been in the bookstore in 4 months to see them or not, but every one of the main Star Wars movies, 1 through 9, has a Shakespearean play version of the movie. It's the entire movie, but read in old Shakespeare.
Oh my God.
And these are actual books. I will see if I can photograph, and I will send you send you a picture online. But yes, obviously the 3 main original trilogy ones, they were published by. See if I can pull it out right now. Ugh. Okay, so I got Return of the Jedi in my hand. William Shakespeare's *The Jedi Doth Return* by Ian Dosher, Star Wars Part the Sixth, and it's got a picture of Jabba with one of those old school hats on above his on his head. Forever sleep as all do, earned I have. But what is this? Thou art an aging soul, yet wherewith speaketh thou death embrace? Good Master Yoda, cease thou mayst not die. Verily 'tis true, with the force powerful I am, yet not that powerful. Twilight is on me, and hence comes the night. 'Tis the way for all in the force. Yet I have need of the good help, for here I stand, returned, prepared my training to complete. What should I do without thine aid? No further training doth require, for thou hast all thou art shalt then need. Forsooth, 'tis true, I am a Jedi now, but thou not so true, for still Vader remains. Thou must confront him.
That's a pretty cool thing. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, I was at a sci-fi convention. Someone was holding court. Everyone was sitting down as he was like, he was dressed in Jedi robes with a one of those old theater hats on his head. A beret, but it's like huge, whatever they're called, and he's holding it up or whatever, reading from it. It's somebody's holding a lightsaber behind him, just making the sounds. But yeah,
Wow.
that's an idea. Instead of just doing the straight up Star Wars script, you could do one of these Shakespearean and just see how many people take a drink every time someone just butchers Shakespeare.
Well, we actually did a Twitter poll 2 or 3 months ago, basically asking our audience what Star Wars film they wanted us to do, and the one that won pretty decidedly was Attack of the Clones.
Oh,
That I mean, people like to hear like bad scripts. I mean,
yeah.
that's part of the fun. So people generally, that's what they gravitate towards. So it doesn't surprise me that won.
But there is a Shakespeare Attack of the Clones, so you could do that whole like I hate Sund. Sund is
yeah.
I don't have the book in front of me, so I can't even impersonate how they did it. But yeah, that whole crap about sand and that whole thing about we live a lie. I can't live a lie without you.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's a pretty. I mean, I've rewatched all of those recently too, and it's still. It used to be one that I mean, I'm kind of an apologist for the prequels in general. I always have been. Attack of the Clones probably holds up worse than any of the Star Wars films.
For the most part, yeah. And what's funny, by the way, these Shakespeare books are only like 160 pages.
Wow. Yeah, I got to check that. I didn't even know those things existed. That sounds insane.
Yep. They've been out for a few years. The exception, obviously, of the Disney films. They probably just recently got published.
There are a lot of films that that we've got a long bucket list of shows to do. A lot of those are ones that we're waiting till our live show opens back up, because I mean the live show is just really a different sort of animal. I mean, we're always going to do virtual reads now. That's always going to be part of our model.
Good.
But the live reads are, they're just so much fun to have a live audience there. And so there's a lot of ones that we want to do, but we're kind of saving them for the live audience. But doesn't mean we're not going to record those and release them online for folks. But like another good example is like Jaws has gone on and off our schedule like 5 times, but every time we put it on, like when we try to do it as a live show, something's always come up. Or when we try to do it as a virtual read, we change our minds and are like, well, we'll just wait till it's a live show. We can do it as a live show. So there's a lot that we're doing that we're just waiting on that. And the virtual reads have kind of given us a chance to do shows or do reads that we probably wouldn't have ever done as a live show. Like I think Demon Knight's a good example. I don't know that we would have thought to do Demon Knight as one of our live shows. And that's actually another one that Twitter voted on. We gave Twitter a list of films to choose from, and that's the one that they chose. So yeah, there's so many good scripts to read.
for a live show, because I did forget you guys did the live show because we've been in Zoom worlds for the last 4 months. For a live show, it would definitely have to be live and not Zoom, like Snakes on a Plane. And then you could have like just buy like a bucket of like rubber snakes, just start throwing them at people when the snakes start attacking. You know what I mean? Get real audience interaction as they're screaming as the snakes are flying. You know, they're not suspecting you're gonna dump snakes at people, and then next you know.
Yeah, we try to, at the live shows, we definitely try to add props as much as we can, and we do a lot of fun stuff on stage with those too. And then, you know, at Fantastic Fest, we usually have the we do some multimedia stuff, and we've done 2 Fantastic Fest reads, and then there are always some sort of multimedia components to that, which are always a lot of fun too. And then the thing this year, which we did for Chattanooga Film Festival, was one of our favorites we've done. We had Barbara Crampton reading Macready.
Oh, cool.
Carolyn Williams and Tiffany Shepis and Chris Cargill, who wrote, you know, Sinister and Doctor Strange, and lots of fun people for that one. That was kind of a packed cast for that read. And that was kind of one that was done. We did a lot of props and stuff with that too. Barbara kept changing costumes every 15 minutes.
Did Mark Bernardin do one with you guys? I swear I thought him talking about this on Fat Man Beyond.
No, Mark has not done one with us yet.
Okay, then maybe it's something else.
He has not done one yet.
Okay, then it's something, because I guess there's another one of these being done, because he was involved with one for Black Lives Matter, and I can't remember what it was, but who he played.
There are some that have started up, and like people ask me all the time, they'll message me and say, "Hey, are you seeing this?" And they'll message me links to these other script readers.
You gotta sue them.
And they act like I should be incensed, and it's like, we didn't invent script reads.
I mean,
like, this is not something that we create. I mean, we added, you know, we didn't even create drunk script reads. Like drunk Shakespeare has been happening for, you know, a decade or more. So like it all we did was like decide, oh, we're gonna do a movie script, we're gonna make it a drinking game. No, like, you know, it's just not a format that we invented. So like, I don't get upset when someone else does one, because it's like, you know, the more the merrier. And we're our own thing. Like, you know, we've been going for like 3 years now. We're our own thing. I'm not threatened by anybody else wanting to do a live script read, even if there is a drinking component to it. I think people, you know, I think there's certainly enough scripts, and there's enough room in the playground for everybody.
And why don't you give away the social media information where people can find out more information?
Yeah, we're across all socials at Scripts Gone Wild, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can also, if you like our reads, I mean, youtube.com/Scripts Gone Wild, you can see all of our virtual reads. And if you like us there.
Awesome, Billy. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Talk a little bit about this amazing little adventure that you guys have been doing. Again, I've only been able to catch it on Zoom, but if you're ever out in the East Coast, I will definitely try to have you guys back on the show. Talk about like an East Coast premiere. Like if
we had plans in the works for an East Coast show before all this happened, so I think it'll happen soon.
Cool, awesome.